Clive Barker podcast audio commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign, Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 3.
Hell on Earth.
Well, for if you're just joining us, of course, this is Hellraiser Inferno, our first of the Hellraiser sequels that we're doing for this
series of commentary tracks.
Yeah, for our Kickstarter fundraiser stretch goals, Fundraiser 3, Hell on Earth.
That's right. And we're going back 16 years ago to 2000.
Wow, it's hard to believe that was 16 years
I can't believe, yeah.
It's almost half my life.
Yeah, I remember renting this the first day of Blockbuster, if anybody remembers Blockbuster.
We still have two of them.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're all gone.
In Alaska?
Here.
Yeah.
Nice.
In Fairbanks.
Mm-hmm.
We had three. One of them just closed down like a couple of months ago.
That's too bad. I do miss the mom and pop video stores that we used to have when we were younger.
I do too.
Yeah, because they wouldn't limit themselves to the stuff that Blockbuster distributes. They would have it, but mostly depended on the taste of the guy who was the owner of the shop. He would pick the movies that he thought would be more interesting for, the clientele. So
yeah. They also gave away, what I like about the mom and pops, the video stores, is they gave away posters to people. They take the posters down and just give them.
That's true. Yeah, and Blockbuster would just sell them.
Back when my Blockbuster closed down, on the very last day, I managed to get like a huge poster they had in the window for Wolverine, the first movie. I mean, it's not an amazing movie, but it was a huge double-sided poster,
Nice.
Yeah, so I asked the manager, like, hey, you guys are closing in a few hours. Here's my stack of DVDs I want to buy. And can I get that poster on the wall? Is that something I could take? And they were like, yeah, sure, whatever.
The one we have by my house, they were just gone one day.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, but they consolidated it all over to the other, the one that's just down the street. So
I've heard some Blockbusters even sold the shelving to the customer.
They did. The one over by us completely just sold everything. It was just, and when they sold everything, I mean everything. It just completely shelves.
Yeah, I just went over there to rent a couple of movies, and it was empty. It's like, holy crap! How did this happen?
Yeah, and after my Blockbuster closed, they opened up a cheap bikini store because it was right in front of the beach.
Oh.
So they just opened like a cheap clothing store.
Yeah.
Where you can buy like a bikini for like $10 or something.
They got ours. They did open up a urgent care, so that was pretty nice, I guess.
It's useful.
It's hard to deny that that's probably more useful than a Blockbuster.
Yeah.
So where we're at, we are paused right before the Dimension logo. So if everybody wants to sync up their copy to go through this movie with us, that's where we're at. And then who wants to do the countdown?
I did it last time. I think it's Ron's turn.
Okay.
If we're doing it in order.
I guess I could do the countdown. So so right before the Dimension logo, and so 3, 2, 1, play. There we have the Dimension logo.
I always liked their logo. I have to admit that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it brings a sensation of familiarity to some of the movies that we've seen growing up.
I kind of like this opening too. I think that it sets up the movie to be better than it actually is.
I like the way that the credits are kind of wavy, given it that I guess the story is going to be
and the Lament Configuration design's sort of blurry in the background there.
Yeah, I think
with this weird noir music.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of that movie Angel Heart with Mickey Rourke.
Oh, yeah.
In places. Yeah, in places. The score opening reminds me of that. And, hey, James Remar is in it.
Yeah, he plays the pastor.
Yeah.
Pastor / psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So the score is by Walter Verzova.
Yeah.
He did a lot of Dimension direct-to-video stuff, Mimic 2, and he was a music designer.
Although
for films like Eraser, Mercury Rising, and Mortal Kombat, I think the first one.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat really stands out. Mimic 2, can't imagine anybody remembers the soundtrack for that.
No, I don't think I ever saw the movie.
So,
Hope.
The special effects are done by Jameson Goey. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's the guy who worked on Inferno, and I think he also did 6, 7, and 8 special effects. I'm not sure about that, but from memory, I think he was involved in all of those movies.
Oh, okay.
And, of course, Gary J. Tunnicliffe.
Yeah.
So there's Craig Sheffer. Boone!
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say that his character in this movie is not likable at all. And he's got weird quirks. Like, this opening scene is so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he a chess genius?
Yeah.
He's good at solving puzzles.
Yeah, and I think that's supposed to be that's what the setup is that he's really good at figuring stuff out and solving puzzles. And
he says that on the voice off because this has like a narration track sometimes, which I think was meant to mimic movies like
Blade Runner,
detective noir movies. And
although I don't know how many people even remember the voiceover stuff in Blade Runner anymore.
Yeah, because they took that out.
Yeah.
I think Guillermo del Toro was one of the guys who actually stood up for that. He said he liked it.
I liked it, but that was the movie that I kind of grew up with.
Sure, that's perfectly acceptable.
And so some people would say that it's more boring without that because there's just a lot of like music and panning over the city.
That's right. I guess sometimes it's easier to understand the movie without the voiceover once you've seen it with the voiceover.
Yeah. I thought he was going to throw the basketball into the chessboard and knock the pieces everywhere.
I lost.
That was always the basketball scene was really that was a weird. Kind of when I first saw this was like, yeah, this is definitely going to be a different Hellraiser film. I never imagined,
Well, and he talks about playing a basketball game like 2 times or 3 times. He talks about how he won this basketball game. We never see him play basketball. We see him play chess
for 7
points. What if he was just the coach? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's kind of weird.
He's
a strange, unlikable character.
Because he goes to his locker, and the first thing he does in the police station is open his locker and get a little vial of drugs that he sniffs. So right off the bat, you're being told, "Hey, this guy is a crooked cop."
Yeah.
But I will give Craig Sheffer credit for at least for his. There's a look to him that gives something. His face is kind of innocent.
Yeah. Oh, sure, yeah. He's very charismatic.
He did his best, I think.
Oh, I think so too.
As likable as possible.
Yeah, which was a pretty impossible job. I mean, they set him up right away with like the sniffing the cocaine. You're thinking, okay, we're not supposed to like this character because he's a cop.
Yeah,
and he's dirty.
Yeah.
So this movie takes place in Denver. I just want to put this out there.
Oh, the filming or the movie?
The movie.
The story, yeah. The story takes place. He's a cop. He's a detective in Denver.
Oh, that's right. I think he has said Denver Police Department or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the first crime scene, which we're going to get back to this because this is going to introduce an element that makes the story a little confusing after a while, but we'll get back to that.
Okay.
So Clive on Hellraiser 5 Inferno, he once said in 1999 on the website for the Sci-Fi Channel that I can't give you details, but I believe that Dimension Films, who released the last film, have 2 more in development. I'm not invited to their meetings. Yeah. So, yeah.
It was that's when all the bitterness started with this one.
And this is kind of strange too that this is all. I mean, I guess it's sort of explained later, but in Hellraiser, nobody just found Frank's corpse all splayed out in the attic.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you find out later through the twist of the movie that everybody guesses like early on, but you find out later that the reason for that.
There was a controversy between Clive Barker and Scott Derrickson, who was the director of this movie, that we'll probably talk about this a little bit as the movie goes by. But Clive Barker did go public in saying that he said, "I really don't like to say this about another's work, but I really hate this movie, and it seems to have violated a lot of the things that I like about Hellraiser." And this was in a Hellraiser screening Q&A session at the American Cinematheque First Festival of Fantasy, Horror, and Science Fiction in Los Angeles. And then, of course, Scott Derrickson did reply to Clive, but we'll get back to that.
I'll have to give Hellraiser Inferno one thing. It did inspire Scarlet Gospels, so that's a,
It inspired Scarlet Gospels?
It didn't inspire it, but that made him want to do a good Pinhead, story.
Oh, yeah.
Sure,
exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
He wanted to get
in the character.
He wanted Pinhead
better
to
send
die.
off.
Yeah. He said instead of being just, that's so silly. He could have just stuck that in his pocket. He's just doing a magic trick for himself. But
he's just how selfish he is.
He's hiding drug evidence because this Jay Cho is apparently his drug dealer, I guess.
No, he was a guy he went to high school with.
Well, he said that, but then he knew exactly where that book with the drugs was.
Oh, that's a good point.
I never really noticed that.
Huh.
So he went straight to that book and opened it up, and it was hollowed out, and there was a vial of drugs, and then he makes the vial disappear.
Yeah.
We could say that was a coincidence, but now that you pointed it out, it's kind of hard to call it a coincidence. Yeah. Oh, there's the finger. So the finger won.
Yeah.
So this movie, and I'm not trying to make apologies for Scott Derrickson because I really don't like what he did to Hellraiser 5, but this movie had an estimated budget of $2 million. According to Wikipedia. So I don't know if that's accurate.
And I don't think the budget is the problem at all with this movie.
Mm-hmm. It is a story.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the special effects and the overall, it doesn't feel like a low budget B movie.
I think this might have been Scott Derrickson's first film, and Scott Derrickson and his writing partner Paul Harris Boardman wrote Urban Legends Final Cut for Phoenix Pictures and Hellraiser Inferno, which Derrickson directed for Miramax's Dimension Films. And I think people usually say that this script was modified to include Hellraiser. I think that comes from some lines that Doug Bradley has said over the years. But honestly, for this movie, I can't really say that it's confirmed that it was a reused script.
Well, and according to Scott Derrickson, he said that they were looking for Hellraiser scripts, and they passed over a whole bunch, and they came to his.
Oh, okay.
Some of them even followed. There was a lot of pictures that even
this is a weird
followed where the story for Bloodline left off.
Yeah, which would have been much better, and maybe would have even made it to the theater. Who knows?
But Dimension said when Scott Derrickson and his writing partner came on board that they wanted to change pretty much. They didn't care about the mythology. Yeah,
they wanted to start over. And Scott Derrickson also believed that Hellraiser was all played out and needed to be rebooted. That's why when people say we need a Hellraiser remake, it's kind of like, well, every Hellraiser movie after 4 was a remake.
Kind of, yeah.
They're not good. And this is something that bugs me too. His family are just we talked about this when we did our episode about Hellraiser Bloodline, but his wife and daughter are really just cardboard cutouts.
I agree. Even his wife just says, "Oh, I took a bath and took a pill." It's like, okay,
and we're not spoiling this for anybody because anybody listening to us has probably already seen this movie. But these people, I guess, aren't real people, right? Because he's in hell. So are they like demons?
No, he hasn't opened the box yet.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Right now, he hasn't opened the box.
Right,
but everything from opening the box forward, which is coming up here in like the morning after this scene.
Yeah.
Everything after that, he's in hell. And so all of these characters are like demon actors, or are they in his mind?
They have a very Cenobite. They look kind of like Cenobites, not in the sense that they're visual, but the way the dresses, the leather, the S&M kind of clothes.
Yeah, I suppose that's what he's trying to go for, and especially with that tattoo parlor with the guy with the hooks and stuff.
Yeah. But about this scene, I just want to point out something. He says, Joseph Thorn, the character says, I live in a different world. Most marriages fail. Most men just leave. I know that would kill her. But if she doesn't know, if doing this keeps me coming back, then who's to say what's right and what's wrong? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? Like, you just neglected your wife and daughter. It's like, when do you sleep? When do you rest? You just had a full day of work. You're coming in at night to your house, and then you're just going to go out again and party all night?
Yeah, it's like he just wants to drop off his gun or something. I mean, what does he even go home for?
I don't know. Really, it's just it doesn't seem real. Like you said, it doesn't seem like he really has a family. They're just there for a payoff.
They're props.
Further down the road, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he does do a lot of cocaine, so he probably is all jacked up most of the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Where he's always,
Also, not to mention that, he picks up a prostitute from the street, and then she says, anything you want as many times as you want it. And it's like, no sex worker would say that and then spend the whole night at the motel with you. It's not how that goes. It's like, at this point,
I hate the music in that part right there too.
It's weird, right? It's kind of like a club music, very cheesy. So at this point, we're still in reality, I think. So things are still in the real world. After the bathroom scene is where things kind of start falling apart.
Well, and if she falls asleep, he could just rob her, take all her money, and leave.
Right.
And he's a cop, so she should have been distrustful that he was trying to set her up. And she could have also been distrustful that he was just going to use that to blackmail her, and I'm free because I'm a cop, and I'll arrest you if it's not.
Also, not to mention the fact that in the sex scene, he still has his shirt on.
Yeah, no, he never.
And he slept with his shirt on and everything.
Yeah. Or he just laid there. So this isn't even in the morning, right? This is still at night.
At night, yeah.
Yeah. So everything from here on out.
I do like the designs of the Cenobites in this movie, like the Wire Twins, the so-called Wire Twins.
Yeah, and even the Chatterer torso is not bad, although you can tell by the way he moves that he's like green screened.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Torso, but, I think of it more like a pet.
Yeah, the Cenobite that I don't like is, I guess he's not the engineer, but he's the one that's always doing all the murders, that he catches glimpses of him.
Mm-hmm. The guy looks like the Chatter.
He looks like the Chatterer, but it's like a cloth over his face.
Yeah, it's skin, isn't it? It's supposed to be like scanners.
Yeah, it's a faceless killer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that guy looks dumb, and his outfits make him look really stupid. And I guess...
Especially the cowboy hat.
For a while, they tried to make it like he was the engineer, but he's not, because we know that Pinhead is the engineer, which is, like, whatever.
Yeah, the other is just a faceless killer.
Yeah.
Which, of course, doesn't make any sense. Originally, in the Hellbound Heart novella, the engineer was a guy who came up with torture devices for the Cenobites and who kind of managed everything. And he had a head that was like a cone of light.
Yeah.
And then in the Hellraiser movie, the engineer became that creature, that monster thing in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then this movie, Scott Derrickson wanted to make a blank slate of the Hellraiser mythology and start over. And he tried to shoehorn the engineer name into the movie in a way that I don't think works, because the Pinhead is not the engineer.
No.
So we just flipped over.
Only one that talks in this movie.
Yeah. So we just flipped over to the other side of reality here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from here on out, people who have seen the first 4 Hellraiser movies probably are thinking, and if you've seen Jacob's Ladder, you're probably thinking, okay, well, he's in hell now.
Yeah. Oops, there's a Wire Twin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These two Cenobites that give Thorn that underskin massage, of course, it's a reference to Kirk Reinert's painting on
From the Hellbound Heart.
Yeah.
The cover of the Hellbound Heart U.S. edition.
I wonder if Scott Derrickson bought that book and meant to read it, but he never got past the cover.
That's definitely a possibility.
On the Scarlet box set, he's interviewed and he talks about how much he enjoys Hellraiser, and when the way he talked, he acted like he knew the mythology pretty good. I just with this, it just doesn't. Yeah, he just wanted to turn it into his own thing. I think he was just doing what Dimension wanted, and well, and being able to make a movie, that's something he wanted to do. I mean, he's a filmmaker, but
the thing that I hate about it is that not only did this whole Jacob's Ladder and people not realizing they're in hell. Not only he sort of took it over and made it his own thing, and his own like preachiness and stuff, but he also changed the whole direction of the series.
Yeah.
So Hellraiser 6 is just like this. Hellseeker.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of like these
and even Deader
nightmare takes.
Yeah, and even Deader has that too, where people don't know if they're dead or alive, or if they're in hell or not, or awake or asleep. And
so Hellraiser Inferno has a 5.6 rating on IMDb, and on Rotten Tomatoes, I had that on my notes here. 36%.
Yeah. So that snow is going to be called back later. Oh, hey, Doug.
Yeah.
That's his only appearance until until the end of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Congratulations, Detective Thorn.
I like
spent the night in the floor of a motel bathroom.
Yeah.
I like the wood grainy look of the puzzle box in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a lot to go on, but it doesn't carry the movie. but yeah, I think it looks.
This was speaking of the box. This was the first movie to actually call the box the Lament Configuration. I never really thought about that.
I thought that the fourth one did.
No, they never said it. They said
in the work print.
In the work print they did. French.
Okay.
Angelique did say it, but
that's the last version of it I saw was the work print.
Yeah, they did. She said it in the past segment.
Oh,
but,
okay.
They deleted that. That was totally deleted from the movie.
And that's not in the book either, right? They just call it
Lament Configuration?
Yeah, in Hellbound Heart, I don't think they say Lament Configuration, do they? I can't remember. We've had this discussion before, and we figured it out, and now we forgot again. There's Jay Cho. Say hi, Jay.
Who plays his partner? He's a really good actor. I've seen him in other stuff. He's gone on to do a lot of...
Although he doesn't look like Tony Nanonin.
Yeah, Nicholas Turturro.
Yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to know if they call it the Lament Configuration? No. In Hellbound Heart, they only call it the Le Marchand Configuration. I just checked.
Of course, then it was a black lacquered box that was just a black shape. This, for me, when the first time I saw the movie, this carried a lot of weight. This phone call and the scream with the gurgling and stuff was so creepy.
Yeah. And,
I mean, that, for me, made the movie sort of okay at the time when I saw it in 2000.
Uh-huh. They really have a lot of gurgling noises in this movie.
Yeah. But this movie does not stand up to repeated viewings at all. At least not for me. It just gets worse every time.
What particularly each viewing that as you watch it, what annoys you more about it each time?
I don't like this character.
Yeah.
I think that I don't like all the preaching.
Yeah.
And the morality.
Kung Fu Cowboys.
That it's the morality play kind of thing about it, and I don't like movies that have a twist at the end that sort of, like, I really liked Sixth Sense when that movie came out, and then I bought it, and when I watched it a second time, I was like, I don't ever need to see this again. It's not good the second time.
It's not as interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you watch it the second time, and you can kind of watch it from the point of view of, okay, now I know he's dead or whatever. But then after that, it's like, okay, that's done. I don't need to see it again. It's, once you figure out the twist, it kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
And the twist is actually pretty obvious in this movie, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if you've seen other Hellraiser movies, as soon as he opens the box, that, okay, well, Cenobites are going to come.
Yeah.
So, Scott Derrickson, interesting, I was just reading his Wikipedia page. He grew up in Denver, Colorado, so that's probably why he put the movie in Denver, maybe.
Yeah.
And he has a BA in Humanities, Literature and Philosophy, a BA in Communications, and a minor in Theological Studies. Yeah. And why am I bringing this up? Because Scott Derrickson was a fundamentalist Christian at one point, and I think he may still be.
Yeah.
And if you look at his body of work, after this, he did The Exorcism of Emily Rose, for example.
I hated that movie.
Yeah, I don't like it very much either.
I actually enjoyed that one.
That's the one with the little girl that was possessed, and then her brother chased the ball in slow motion into the street and got killed by it.
This is really the only film I really haven't enjoyed by him. I enjoyed Sinister. He did the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still. I thought that was pretty good. And he's doing the Doctor Strange movie, which I'm really looking forward to.
He's doing Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
He is. He's doing Doctor Strange with Benedict Cumberbatch. So my point was that when he did this, Scott Derrickson, when he did his first movie, he also did a few lectures afterwards because he's very into, Christianity and religion, and he's a very religious person. So he wrote an essay called Behind the Lens, a Christian Filmmaker in Hollywood. And he also wrote another essay called Horror, the Perfect Christian Genre, an interview with filmmaker Scott Derrickson and Peter Chataway. And here's the thing. He kind of explains in these interviews why he kind of subverted the Hellraiser mythology to his purposes. And I'm going to bring up just a few lines from that. So here's Behind the Lens. He said, "My work on Hellraiser Inferno was in some ways a personal rebellion against all of this. I wanted to make a movie about sin and damnation that ended with sin and damnation. After all, isn't that the experience of many people? Isn't that descriptively true? Some Christians who have seen that film like to quote Philippians 4:8 to me. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, think on these things." And I have to stop them and say, wait a minute, what was the first thing you said? Whatsoever things are true? Things that are true are not necessarily lovely, and St. Paul is not saying that all the qualities he lists together have to characterize everything. Perhaps truth is named first for a reason. So, okay, I'm going to link this up to the show notes.
Yeah,
and he also says something here that he says, "Nothing is more easily resisted than subcultural religious language. One of our primary responsibilities as artists and Christians is to invent a new language for all ideas. It is impossible for me to successfully talk with people in Hollywood about sin and salvation. Those words are no longer alive for them. Words are socially born and they socially die, and we have killed off much of our Christian language." And then he goes on to say, "Hellraiser Inferno is about the enslaving chains of sin that can lead to eternal damnation. It is about how, without God's mercy, our flesh tears at our spirit." And here, and here's the thing: this has nothing to do with Hellraiser at all. This is not.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. I was like,
it's not about sin and damnation. It's about transgression, moving forward. Opening new horizons. What's that line that Pinhead says? Explore beyond the regions of experience. Mm-hmm. So, and this is the other way around. This is just like chains of religious dogma wrapped around you saying, okay, no, you can't do that. That's bad. That's immoral. You're going to be damned to hell. You're going to be. Yeah. And Pinhead is definitely not someone who's going to punish someone for, the sins they've committed. That's not who he is.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So I think in that respect...
he wouldn't care what sins they've committed.
Right. He wouldn't go on to make a big speech about your flesh is killing your spirit.
They need to be obsessed enough to track down the box and open it and do the ritual or whatever.
And he claims to be such an artist with integrity that he goes on to say, and finally, one does have to be willing to turn down a job in order to preserve one's integrity. After Hellraiser Inferno, I was offered a 7-figure deal for 2 movies, which my partner and I would write and I would direct. But the studio's offer also included an option for 6 more films at other prices. It was one of the hardest decisions of my life, but we rejected this offer. Knowing the kind of films this studio wanted me to make, I realized that they would give me plenty of money and work, but in 5 years, I would not be making the kinds of movies I want to be making. And then he says, some Christians pride themselves in losing a job because they refuse to compromise. They consider it a moral victory when their integrity gets thrown them off a set. But it's a sad thing to lose a job for any reason. So I'm not saying go out there and fail for Jesus. I'm just saying be willing to pay the price when you have to. It's like this is an essay talking to young Christian people who want to be filmmakers. And he's telling them that, his view on it. By itself, it's not a bad thing. I'm not criticizing his faith. I'm just saying that I think he introduced a lot of morality into these movies that's very biased towards
definitely
religion.
Yeah, well,
I think that's the
Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Biased.
Yeah.
Like the Exorcism of Emily Rose. It was based on a real case of a little girl called Anneliese Michel, who was German, I think. And the priests actually got prosecuted for what they did to the girl, and they really were. And in the movie that he did, the priests kind of get a little slap on the wrist, and it's like, no, it's okay, and the question is left hanging in the air, like maybe she was, possessed by the devil, maybe they were just acting in good faith, but it's like, no, if you see the girl, she lost like dozens of pounds. She didn't have any nails left because she kept scraping the walls and stuff like that. She was very emaciated and very abused. Her kneecaps gave out because she kept genuflecting, going down on her knees like 500, 600 times a day because the priest said she had to pray a lot and they would do all these exorcisms. And so when I saw the Exorcism of Emily Rose, I was like, it kind of excuses the Catholic Church for what they did.
Yeah.
I never really knew the true story of it. I'll have to look more.
That's kind of how I feel when I see these modern stories about like Salem witches and stuff. Mm-hmm. There's like a TV show called Salem, and I saw another one, and I saw an ad for something else called Witches, and it makes me think, oh, that sounds like you're excusing the Salem witch trials, saying that these people were real and they really did, put these curses on people, and I don't know. And I think it's totally fine to make a movie like this, but don't make it Hellraiser. Yeah. Just you take out the puzzle box and Pinhead, and now it's a completely its own thing. It's a rip-off of Jacob's Ladder.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a lot of the influences he wanted was Dante's Inferno, and what else was it? Yeah, it was just Dante's Inferno. I think he was really inspired by.
Yeah.
Even the way he depicts like people who are into body modification, it's almost like the movie's telling us the people who do body modification are sleazy, or they move in sleazy circles, or they're criminals.
I don't think he really knows. I don't think he's the kind of guy that knows much about body modifications. Or been really into a tattoo shop.
Did you hear those wire twin tattoos? They go, hey.
Yeah.
I think that was that them?
No, it was the soundtrack.
They were animated.
It's just funny.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was like some Chinese song that's like, hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Also, what sort of like body modification shop would have a guy doing piercing and tattoos not wearing a shirt,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just wanted to make him look like a big muscle man, I guess.
Yeah, show the tattoos.
Well, and it's the same with this guy with all of his posters all over the inside of that truck. Kids would see that.
Yeah, of course. The adults would see that. They'd be like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" It kind of reminded me a little bit of.
Yeah, they would call the police immediately.
Of course,
because the adults are the ones that pay for their stuff for their kids most of the time.
And he's all dirty too. You look at his like inside shirt; it's all like dirty.
His zipper's kind of down, and you notice that it is. It's the zipper's down.
It's a very caricature depiction of a.
I've always been creeped out by.
footprints.
I've always been creeped out by ice cream men.
Oh.
No, just the music and just the way they drive so slowly around your.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah, that's a
neighborhood.
good point. They're kind of creeping around, looking for children. Yeah, and the dialogue in this scene is when he says, "What am I, your whipping boy?" It's totally forced. It's just so that they can call it back later.
Of course, the payoff with the whip. Yeah. So Scott Derrickson also did that remake of The Day the World Stood Still, right?
Yeah.
With Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I saw that when it came out. I mean, I thought it was okay, but it wasn't. It didn't make an impression on me like I needed to watch it again.
Yeah.
And at least that's not a religious movie. Maybe, I don't know.
No, he didn't put any kind of religious bias in that. I don't.
No, I guess that movie had a kind of a short leash because it's a remake of an established movie, so they couldn't really stray too much from it.
And Sinister didn't either. It was really a creepy, just straightforward film.
I'm trying to remember which one is Sinister.
I can't remember.
Sinister is the one
Yeah, like Jose.
with that demon that looks like a guy from Slipknot.
Yeah.
That's the one where the kid,
The demon,
it had Ethan Hawke in it.
Bagul, I think his name is.
Whenever the kid falls asleep, he astrally projects into the other world. Is that Sinister?
That's Insidious.
Oh, I get
That's
those two
Insidious.
confused. I've seen the Insidious movies, but I maybe haven't seen Sinister.
Yeah, no, that's not it. This is the one where Ethan Hawke is a writer. He moves into a house where terrible murders happened. He wants to write a book, and he finds the family's home movies, the family that was completely massacred.
Oh.
Yeah, it's got Ethan Hawke in it. That's Sinister, I think.
And why would this guy have naked pictures of women where he cuts the crotch out?
Yeah, that's really because,
Yeah,
Oh,
because it's an
absolutely.
R-rated movie. But still, it's like I don't know. It's just dumb. This is dumb. This setup is. I mean, this character in this. I don't know. This is stupid.
Yeah.
I'm watching this on the Blu-ray that has the 4 Hellraiser sequels on it, where they didn't even care enough to get the posters right, so they mixed up.
I know.
They mixed up the poster image with the titles.
What is the cover for Inferno? It looks like what? I can't remember.
It's just Pinhead's face
Yeah,
under a orange light.
but this one shows Angelique on.
Yeah, it's Angelique. Yeah.
Yeah.
With blacked out eyes,
Yeah.
Now my Blu-ray case has Bloodline. It came with Bloodline, but it actually does have the Inferno poster that was released when it came out.
This is kind of weird that he's telling this story and then we're seeing it. Because this isn't anybody's memory, right? This is just a story he's telling.
That's true, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's okay, I guess, but this story about the engineer doesn't make any sense.
So another thing that Clive
Hellraiser,
No, of course not.
Why? Oh, you took this woman away from.
And that head looks like totally a dummy head.
Yeah. So and they're saying that the engineer is a pimp.
Yeah.
And she was his prostitute. So it's stupid.
So here's another thing that Clive Barker said in an interview in 2000 for Lost Souls newsletter. He said, Hellraiser Inferno is terrible. It pains me to say things like that because nobody sets out in the morning to make a bad movie. But these guys sent me a script and I said, if you want me involved, ask me. Let's do a deal and get into business. But I really don't think this works right now, talking about the script. They said, we really don't want your opinion on it. We're going to make the movie. So they went and made the movie. And it is just an abomination. I want to actively go on record as saying I warn people away from the movie. It's really terrible and it's shockingly bad and should never have been made. And then he goes on to what you were saying, Rob. So I want to give Pinhead a good send-off. I want to do it right. If we were going to get rid of the old guy, let's do it with some style. Yeah. So my idea was, if I do it with Harry, I can bring in two characters at the same time and sort of weave their stories together. So yeah, that's how the Scarlet Gospels came to be.
So it's interesting that this terrible movie is the genesis of the Scarlet Gospels, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, and Scott Derrickson did reply. And so he said...
Oh, yeah, there was I remember that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
and an article called Things to Do in Denver When You're a Pinhead, and Fangoria number 198. Scott Derrickson said, when Demon... Oh, wait, no, that's not it. That's... Okay, this was in eastbladder.com. Okay, got it. Eastbladder.com, interviewed by Lucius Gore. Hellraiser 5 director responds to Clive Barker, and Scott says, Clive's reaction, I must admit, was not entirely unexpected. The Hellraiser franchise had, in my opinion, traveled too far in one direction and had quite simply run out of steam. The only interesting path to take in creating another sequel seemed to be the path of total reinvention. Of course, Clive Barker isn't going to appreciate that. I never expected that he would appreciate seeing the treasured iconography of his brainchild tossed out of the window and replaced with a whole new set of rules. But it seems to me that I made a movie that is too good, or at least too provocative, for him to just simply dismiss, as he obviously dismissed Hellraiser Bloodline. This movie actually upset him, and I think I know why. And then he goes on to say, and I think he's really full of it, this is in fact a very good film. It is philosophically ambitious, and it represents a moral framework outside that of the previous Hellraiser films. Yeah, no kidding. And apparently outside of Clive Barker's personal taste. Quite simply, I subverted Clive Barker's franchise with a point of view that he does not share, and I think that really pisses him off. I'm honestly not angry about Mr. Barker's comments, and I would even return the gesture of calling him very nice. However, I do want readers to note that his distaste for this film was not due to its lack of intrigue or quality, but rather to its violation of what he deems to be interesting, if not sacred, about the Hellraiser mythology. So he does know what he did. I mean, it's not a...
Yeah.
He set out to do something that kind of served as, his own sensibility more than the mythology of the series. Yeah, so that's what I criticize about it.
The problem is when you do that, you're shoehorning Hellraiser crap into your own movie instead of the other way around.
Creating a fresh Hellraiser story.
Yeah, and this movie, of course, they were looking for a Hellraiser script, and he made this for them. So I guess this movie never would have been made at all if it wasn't Hellraiser.
Yeah, in that article that I mentioned earlier, but I made a mistake. In the one from Fangoria, Things to Do in Denver When You're Pinhead, Scott Derrickson did say, when Dimension was looking for writers for the new Hellraiser, they passed on everyone and then came back to us and asked if we had any ideas. We brought them this one, which was so outrageous that we didn't think they would ever do it. We were able to do our own movie, so if anybody doesn't like it, they can put the blame on Paul Harris Boardman and I.
Yep.
Dimension really let us write the script we wanted to write, and the first draft pretty much became the draft we shot. Well, it shows. that definitely shows that this is
I wish they would have stayed away from the Bloodline like they gave, or just gave the people for Bloodline freedom. Like they gave these guys, because
well, and cutting Clive Barker out is never good. I mean, when that happened on Rawhead Rex, that movie turned into kind of a joke.
Oh, and speaking of jokes, he's in a club. He's in a bar or something, and he gets this tape given to him, and he just goes up to some TV that's in a corner, and he puts it up for everybody in there to see.
I know, nobody else is paying any attention.
Is he the only person in there?
It looks like it.
Yeah. Well, and then is he the only one that can see this right now? Are they all seeing static?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's the stupid chatter right there, Ryan.
Yeah.
This scene really doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
That is the worst Cenobite. He wears regular people clothes.
I know. He's got Well, they're really his clothes, though, aren't they?
Oh, yes. Right. That's true.
Of course, they're Detective Thorn's clothes.
Yeah.
Which, Pinhead will be sure to explain that to us.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. He has a cheap jacket. Like that leather jacket is all shiny and I don't know.
Yes.
Well, this was 2000.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that they're like, you made us watch this tape 4 times. Can you imagine those guys sitting in there for 8 hours watching static?
Those tapes were how long were they?
2 hours on the lowest setting.
Long.
And up to 8 hours if you change the
You wouldn't sit there for 2 hours or 4 hours watching a VHS tape.
Well, and then they did it. He
There's
said
nothing on this.
He watched it
Fuck
4
off.
times. They were like, "Yeah, I was supposed to be home for dinner 6 hours ago."
Yeah.
Hey, that actor who plays like the captain or whatever,
Yeah.
he's been in a lot of movies. I forgot his name.
Yeah, I don't recognize him.
I don't either.
There's a kid that's being killed, and he wants him to go take a break and go talk to the
The
psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. When that spoils it for repeated viewings. When he goes in to see the psychiatrist right now, all you can think of is, "Yep, this is Pinhead." And when people say there is no such thing as the engineer, he could say, "Look, the psychiatrist's got a file about him."
Yeah.
So when you first saw the James Remar character, you thought you knew it was Pinhead?
No, not the first time, but after the
okay.
first time. Yeah, then
Okay.
you remember that he was Pinhead, and you're just like, everything you say is just a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
He's telling stories about the engineer like he's bragging about himself, I guess. I don't know.
It's like the engineer is some sort of mobster or like
Yeah.
crime
Yeah.
lord.
Yeah, and all of the, we know that from the point that he opened the box on, all of these characters are just nothing. They're just part of some Groundhog Day that he's living.
Some of the fans look... Go ahead.
Oh, sure. I was just going to say, I was just thinking about how to make the story better. I could just off the wall, just make the story like in Mexico and some drug cartel, and the engineer is like the head of the drug cartel or something like that. That might have made it a little more interesting. It's just something that just came up to my mind right now. But go ahead, Rob. You're going to say
I was going to say, a lot of the fans like this because they think it kind of borrows ideas from the comic books, but I've read a lot of those comics. I don't remember any kind of stories like this that were so drastically changed from the mythology.
Yeah.
No. It seemed like there were mostly like different ways that people called the Cenobites.
Yeah.
Or under different circumstances.
Like there was a crossword puzzle was used.
Yeah, Wordsworth, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think Neil Gaiman wrote that one.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm looking at user reviews on IMDb, for example, and this guy gave the movie 10 stars in 2006, and he says, best Hellraiser. And he says, this movie, for lack of a better word, is perfect. After going to school for multimedia, I was first amazed by the cinematography. The acting is flawless. The story, while not quite the traditional Hellraiser movie, is so interesting. If you haven't seen this, you need to watch it. And he says, I was really impressed with a few of the things the movie incorporated. In the book, it mentions the engineer, which has never been worked into any movie previously. Has he seen the first Hellraiser?
No.
I
And
don't
it also
think
gets
so.
the...
No.
Yeah. As for the Cenobites, Pinhead is, of course, perfect. You can't go wrong with Mr. Bradley, and the others are original and creepy. So, yeah, I agree with the Mr. Bradley part, but not the rest of it.
Yeah.
But then when you look at message boards, you see the topics. They say, unpleasant main character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things about the movie. Oh, there's the guy you don't like.
Look at that horrible jacket.
It ends up not
It looks
being
like it's
him.
made out of vinyl.
Probably is.
It ends up not being him. Another one of those,
Yeah.
mind games.
Yeah. Yeah, there was the awesome acting that he was talking
Yeah, I
about.
know.
Yeah. They found your snitch. Dude, you mean to say that van has been parked there for like over a day where kids
Yeah.
are playing
You would
football?
smell the body, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And flies would be all.
Yeah, that'd be nasty.
Oh, the door's standing open.
I do think it's creepy. It's outside a soccer yard. I mean,
yeah, and the cops haven't even told the kids to go home or anything.
No, they're still
just
playing.
playing
They're
around.
just hanging
playing
around
soccer.
and they're standing around in front of the truck. Look at those people there.
They're
in
like,
the
"Woo,
window.
I don't care."
Yeah.
It's
When
just
do we
bad.
get to go in the truck? Not till we're done.
I want some ice cream.
Oh, and he just pushes one button with his knuckle to hear the voicemail.
And this is the guy
Yeah.
talking. That he was the
So-
guy that
So this
the engineer
lead,
stole the woman.
Yeah, so
bumped
he
him in the
was-
head.
so he was trying to find out who the engineer was for Thorn, and so the lead he got on his voicemail was to go to this cowboy bar, or a cowboy, not a bar, like a casino.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the videotape that nobody could see.
Yeah.
Here comes the best line in the movie. Maybe this guy just wants his box back. Wow. Genius.
Like, no, he just left it there on the crime scene. Oh, yeah, duh. Well, that's why you're the lead guy and I'm just the follow-around partner.
Oh boy, he's going to Mr. Pramaji's casino now. This is
I like that name, Mr. Pomaji. I like the name. I think the name is pretty cool.
makes me think about, I don't know, cheese. Like the name of a cheese.
Yeah, like a nice cheese.
Yeah. Do you have any crackers?
Yeah.
And the
that
scene with the,
lassoing horse thing neon thing is so stupid.
This looks like a gay strip bar.
I know, it's like, what the hell is this?
It's a barn, too. They dressed up a barn to make this.
This was the director said this was. I remember reading somewhere. He said he wanted a very David Lynch scene. So take that.
He failed. And all of these people look like, why are they, every single person in the whole place is wearing a cowboy hat. And it's rude to wear a hat indoors.
They're cosplayers, Ryan.
Yeah, I know.
They're cosplaying.
They probably don't even know what the movie is that they're making.
What you said just a while ago, Rob, that the director said he wanted to do something that was very David Lynch. Like Mulholland Drive has a scene with a weird-looking cowboy as well.
Yeah.
And I once made like a little meme, separated at birth, putting the two cowboys next to each other, like this one, Mr. Pramaji, or whatever his name is, and the one from Mulholland Drive. It's really creepy, the way they talk and everything. Very similar.
This is the worst scene in the whole movie, and that's saying a lot.
This was when I first saw this film, I was like, what the hell am I watching? This is not a Hellraiser movie. I mean, just...
Well, and this bar has no place in the story. It's just so that guy can kind of give him more hints about the engineer, I guess.
Yeah.
Everybody else acts like regular people in his life, and this guy is kind of like, oh, you're going after the engineer, well, he's going to come after you.
This guy right here, this actor who plays Mr. Pramaji, I saw him. My mom watches General Hospital. He played an assassin on General Hospital that got killed.
Here's something. Doug Bradley's impressions of the movie. So Doug Bradley said on the Sci-Fi Channel in 2000, Hellraiser 5 was shot in Los Angeles last autumn, and indeed, I believe, is now finished. It's called Inferno. Clive has had nothing at all to do with it, nor has Pete Atkins, who had written the previous 3 screenplays. New writers, new direction, really, which I think fans may find an interesting new direction. Pinhead's barely in it, so that's an interesting new direction for a Hellraiser film. But then, of course, he was barely in the first film, so it kind of makes sense. And he goes on to say in another issue of Firelight Shocks.
Yeah, that's when he had to promote it, because it wasn't done yet. It wasn't out yet.
And he says, Dimension sent me the screenplay, and they clearly wanted my opinion, and I had 2 opinions. One was that I didn't think it was good enough, and the second was that I was surprised that I was in it so little. The irony is, and I said this to them, that if they had actually seriously bothered to cast canvass my opinion, I would have said that I think we need to hold back a little bit. I think you can overexpose and the law of diminishing returns kicks in, but I think they went to the other extreme. What irritates me, and I know it upsets the fans as well, was that they smothered the video cover with pictures of Pinhead, and that tells everybody that it's his film again. He's the featured character. Well, no, he isn't, so don't sell it on that.
Yeah.
So I worked a grand total of 3 days on Inferno, but I'd rather do more. They were 3 very well-paid days, the kind of days that keeps the wife happy. If that could be my daily rate for the rest of my career, I'd be very happy indeed.
There's that weird vertical shot.
Shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here comes that scene with the Kung Fu Cowboys. Go ahead, Rob.
Now let's watch this scene.
Must we?
And why?
More smoke.
And not only are these characters terrible, but there's no reason for them.
Yeah.
He already he was chasing after that faceless killer, and he already lost him. So he could have just gone back inside and said, "Okay, I'm leaving." No,
My favorite thing.
He has to get beat up first by these.
Yeah, they really whip him.
Yeah,
they really kick the shit.
This is my favorite thing, where they twirl around and then
they're twirling.
they go like. It's like, what was that for?
Yeah.
The music here is terrible too. Nothing is working.
It sounds like stock
what did he
music
just step
or like
on?
a trailer or
What
something.
glasses?
His glasses.
Yeah.
He's just being a jerk. And Detective Thorn could say, you know what, I'm a cop, and you just assaulted me for no reason. So you're all going to jail, Kung Fu Cowboys and old guy.
Yeah. Why doesn't he go back and arrest everybody and close Mr. Permagi's casino?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
he and his
he had
partner.
total.
And his partner is so ineffectual and useless.
Yeah.
He really
He's like,
is.
oh, I got lost in the woods.
Even though I do kind of like him. But,
Yeah.
He is pretty useless.
Yeah.
What I was going to say before, though, kind of what was Jose was commenting about. Doug Bradley does not like Inferno, and he did. Somebody asked him, "How would you rate all the films?" And he was like, "Well, I'd go 1, 3, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Pause. Inferno." It's a video you can find on YouTube.
Yeah, that's before Revelations came out, because that would have been at the end, I think.
Yeah.
And here's the director explaining how he came up with the idea for the movie. Scott Derrickson said to Annie Young Frisbee in the new Pentegro number 14, he said, "When the job was first offered to me, I turned it down. Then, without really trying, I thought of a way to do the film that would be personally fulfilling. I remember exactly where I was at the time. I was standing in a hotel room in Indianapolis, and the idea came to me that the movie could end with a character confronting the two sides of himself, his spirit and his flesh. Then I thought, that's great, but the studio would never let me do that. Obviously, I was wrong." And he says, "I really didn't worry about the other films. It was a dead franchise, and I knew that my approach was a bit subversive. Clive Barker wasn't happy with what I did, but if he wanted to protect the franchise, he shouldn't have sold it to Dimension. They owned it, and they asked me to reinvent it, so that's what I did. The fans of the franchise are split about it. Some love it, some hate it. No one seems to be neutral about it, which I think is great."
He sold the rights when he made just to be able to make the first movie.
That's right, yeah.
And that wasn't to Dimension, right? That was to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sold it to Dimension.
Maybe Chris Figg?
Yeah. Yeah, so, and they did a good job. I mean, the people he sold it to did a great job with it.
Yeah, I really don't.
After that.
Yeah, I really don't like the movie, and after I found out more about the director, I really didn't like the director. Yeah. Another thing that Scott Derrickson said was, in short, viewers need to watch this picture with an open mind and remember that Clive Barker has only made one good picture, and perhaps for that reason, he's a little territorial when it comes to the man with the pins in his head. Scott Derrickson, this was your first movie.
Yeah.
So basically he was saying Nightbreed and Lord of Illusions were crap.
Yeah, well, and it's easy to pick on Nightbreed, and even though it's not his fault.
I mean, come on, this guy only did one movie.
I know he's talking like he's like...
Yeah, that's true.
at the time, he only had made Inferno. So why is he pointing out that Clive only made one good movie?
Yeah, and here he made a direct-to-video movie, which was a really bad stigma then.
It's like, I don't know, just
yeah.
He's very arrogant.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so here he was beat. He just, like you said, got the crap kicked out of him, and instead of going to the hospital, he goes straight to the psychiatrist.
Which is weird because it's nighttime, and it's like, does Dr. Paul Gregory sleep in his office or something?
Yeah.
I go home.
And if he's really Pinhead, why does he have a picture of his daughter, and why does he talk about his daughter?
Well,
I guess it's all just, again, the whole
disguised.
mental mind games.
Yeah.
And
well, apparently this is not reality anymore, right? Ever since he opened the box, he's somehow been transported to hell.
Yeah.
It's just weird that they chose to do it this way.
Your Pinhead, it's as good a name as any.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
if
no,
you
you're
notice
the engineer, I mean.
if you notice his cross in the lapel, when he turns into Pinhead, it's going to be upside down.
Is that right?
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
No, I did not. Good catch.
Oh.
Because Pinhead is evil.
Yeah.
Air quotes.
Yeah, but he's not, because he's just working for God or whatever, because he's preaching and telling him what a bad person he is. He's a bad father and a bad husband.
I remember asking y'all a question. This was a few years ago. Before I really got to know you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Before I got off Facebook. But I remember asking y'all a question. If it wasn't Pinhead or some other Cenobite that was doing the talking, would you be more accepting of it? And y'all were like, well, no, because it's still not, though the world doesn't stay true to the mythology, because nobody in that universe would talk like that.
Yeah.
So I always thought people had a problem with it just being Pinhead. The point of that, what I'm saying, is that y'all made me understand. Y'all made me understand that their morality plays no part in the Hellraiser universe. It's not.
Well, I don't know if it wasn't Pinhead, maybe this would be a completely different movie, and it wouldn't be a bad movie. It would just be like normal, like TV movie that you'd catch.
Yeah, even if it wasn't Hellraiser.
If it wasn't Hellraiser, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone would have forgotten about it. We might have seen it and would never talk about it again.
But there's still things about this movie that don't make much sense to me, even if you consider that when he opens the box, he's transported into another dimension that's not reality. Like, if the fingers of the kid, if the child's fingers that he finds in the murder scenes, okay, it starts on before he finds the box. So what's going on there? Like that first
yeah,
yeah,
that's right. Whose finger is that first one?
Yeah, it's like it's hard to understand what's going on there. It's like, so is that imaginary? I don't know. I just find it hard to understand. Yeah, the one in the candle. It's very hard to understand where that comes from. Or maybe has he been in hell this whole time since the beginning of the movie?
That's kind of what I'm. More I think about it. Yeah, I think he is. I think the whole thing is from the beginning. He's in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the movie doesn't give us that.
So what was?
The movie does a bad. I agree with you. It does a bad job.
What was the point of even opening the box? What difference does it make?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, it doesn't. Right. The script is very bad in that department. It's, that's a big plot hole.
Mm.
She's like, "Oh, I guess you weren't with a prostitute because you got beat up." So.
Yeah. So
there is one moment coming up here in a second that I thought was kind of cool, creepy, y'all. So let me get to it all.
Oh, the daughter is so terrible.
What did she say?
Said, when are you coming home?
Oh yeah,
that little girl is probably.
She starts crying, really bad.
Daddy. Yeah.
The little girl is probably in her mid-20s right now.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, I know.
I wonder if she's done any more movies.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up on the internet.
Well, and when a little kid is a bad actor, it's not the kid's fault. It's typically the director.
There's a good moment here. Well, a good moment. Sure. There's a good moment here where he raises his hand and he looks
that's
like
the part I
hand
was
of a
going to talk
corpse.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead then.
Yeah, I think that kind of shows he's a demon.
It's weird, though. I mean, what are they trying to say?
That he's dead? Maybe?
I think
or
he,
that he's...
he can't, whenever he tries to show affection in this world or whatever the hell, he can't do that. He's an evil person.
So when did he die? Because that's what you were talking about. Because Pinhead ripped his head apart or whatever. I thought that was when he died.
I think the stories that we just passed about the James from Mars talking about the guy that comes to work and blows his brains out.
Yeah.
And that's what he does at the end. I think he's living in a loop.
Yeah, but you think that Dr. Paul Gregory is telling him his own story?
Yeah, I think so.
When he's talking about the folder that it was him.
So why is it he doesn't remember this time, but next time around he does remember?
It's a constant loop. I don't think any time he will remember anything.
But he killed as soon as he got that phone call. He didn't want to live through all that again, and he shot himself.
Yeah, it's just the story is confusing.
So I was thinking, if he remembers everything, what does he even care about? Why would he even care about tracking down the engineer and saving the kid when he knows that kid is just him? He's going to say, whatever, I'm just going to go sit at the ice cream parlor or something for the whole day. Cause...
Personally, I don't, like, the first time I saw the movie and other times I've seen the movie, I think I accept the idea of the loop, but to me, there's no loop when I watch this movie. To me, this movie is like, it starts in reality, he goes into, like, hell, and then he comes to terms with what's going on with him, and he understands that he's damned, and that's it. And then he just stays in hell.
When he wakes up and he goes back to work, and they're just saying all the same exact stuff that they did before.
It's just a badly written script. It's just really.
So I mean, there is
full of holes.
There is a loop right after he meets up with Pinhead at the end.
Yes.
I mean, that one is definite.
It was a glitch in the Matrix, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and he goes through this scene twice.
Yeah, and this is kind of a cool scene right here. You get to see the version of the Cenobites in kind of a human form.
Yeah.
You get to see this two nurses or...
That hallway scene is interesting, yeah. When he goes down the hallway...
I don't know if they're nurses or they're residents of this retirement home.
And she uses every possible chance she can get to make him feel bad for about not visiting his parents.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we get it. He's a bad person.
Yeah. I like this shot with the hallway stretching out.
I did too.
I did too. So is he tripping around because he's got a concussion? But then at the same time, this is all just a dream because he's still asleep at his house.
Oh, I got something funny to tell you guys about. A fine-looking boy. But there's a picture of this guy in the wheelchair that's coming up. It used to be... I love this guy. He was in the behind-the-scenes pictures in Gary J. Tunnicliffe's website gallery. Mm-hmm. He had a lot of pictures of behind the scenes. I don't think that is up anymore, but I think I still have a backup of that. And he said something like, "Hey, I did the makeup for this old dude, and this is just me quoting from Gary J. Tunnicliffe. Man, at the end of the day, this guy reeked. I really hated doing makeup with this guy." So, for what it's worth, the old guy with the makeup on his face, apparently at the end of the day, Gary J. Tunnicliffe complained that he reeked of sweat. So, and he had that on his website. You know, his mom doesn't seem like she needs to be at a home. Like, she could go out and live in an apartment.
Well, she probably just stays there because
her husband. Yeah.
So is that supposed to be him screaming? It sounds like a girl. It's supposed to be him when he was a little boy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the scream from Merchant's Son when Pinhead in Hellraiser 4 says, "This is a game. Make your, stand your ground, family man." And then he opens his mouth and he says, "Daddy!"
Oh, yeah.
Kind of sounded like the same scream here. So
You need to
that's
go back in time and clean up your room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured this was supposed to be Thorn's bedroom when he was a kid.
Here's another part where there's more gurgling.
Yeah.
They certainly had a lot of gurgling sounds in this movie. From the phone call from Daphne to the informant being killed, now his parents.
And this is a weird sort of a lighting to do for this room, just to show that he's in the past or in a dream. We're like, well, we'll make you green, like the Hulk.
Yeah. Usually dream states are more like cloudy or foggy or a little like they increase the bloom around things or something, yeah. Oh, this reminds me of Hellraiser 3, the boiler room.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. That's true. I wonder if they even acknowledge. I wonder if the effects guys did that on purpose. Or came up with that idea.
Here's the first sign of the loop, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that was all just a dream inside of him being in hell and reliving the same day over and over again.
And you were right about his wife and his daughter. They really are very cardboard-like characters. They don't really do much in this movie.
No. I think they don't. Well,
but hey, it's
they don't. You know, he doesn't want anything to do with them. So his life is a selfish life, and the people around him, he wants nothing that love him. He wants nothing to do with them.
Yeah,
good point.
But still, I'd say they're very the acting and by that. It's not very good.
that man had a gun. Now she's going to go, I didn't even know he had a son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dig it deeper.
This scar has been moving.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was lower earlier.
Their continuity person is not doing a good job.
He doesn't even look that bruised up in this scene.
No, he was really bad in the previous version of this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like after a couple of days. And all the bandages are off and stuff. It's kind of Nightmare on Elm Street when she puts her hands on the bed and the
What?
blood soaks through.
Like when Johnny Depp got killed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. Someone poured corn syrup all over this bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that is creepy. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
The scene is creepy.
Yeah, that seems like a practical effect, too. I wonder how you would put that on there without it soaking in. And that mattress is sort of harking back to Hellraiser 2.
Yeah, that is a nice little nod, though.
Probably not deliberate, or I don't know. Gee, I wonder what's in that box.
And it's wrapped in paper that's like a kid's gift.
Oh.
Like a
Yeah, football.
Hey, this time he got 2.
Oh, yeah. One for each parent.
So how many fingers is that by now? The first one in the candlestick. The second one when they kill the informant.
And
now 2 of them.
The prostitute also.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So that's 5.
Yeah.
And they'll have one with his partner, so that's 6.
Well, she took them long enough to figure out he was the only common link between all the killings.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my thinking, that the real problem with him getting looped in and not wanting to go through all this again, and he shoots himself, is like, why would he go to all the trouble to try to find the engineer again? He wouldn't, right? If he remembers, he would just go, I'm going to just go to do something else.
Sure.
Because going to find the engineer,
I think there's no
doesn't
loop
really
at the
do
beginning.
anything
I
for
think
you.
the loop starts later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, he shoots himself because he doesn't want to go through all that, but he doesn't really have to go through all that. He could just not look for the engineer.
Well, I think he still wants to find out about the child, and in some way, I think he knows that the child may be related, directly related to himself. And, I mean, he keeps seeing his own old bedroom, so I imagine that would.
Yeah, but he thinks they're like dreams or hallucinations.
The thing is, he treats his partner like crap, and then he wants his help.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look like a crazy person.
That was pretty bad what he did to him, like setting him up, like planting his pin there and his earlier in the movie. That was messed up.
It is messed up. When he's asking him to go out on a limb for him. And
yeah. Didn't he just tell him to go to hell?
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be in Denver, but it totally looks like Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder how hard it would be to film in Denver.
That's where they shot some of the Salt Lake City. That's in Denver, right?
That's in Utah, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's Utah.
So he got the message from his two fingers in the parents' room to go to this address.
Yeah.
And when it gets here, it's very similar to the damp room in Hellraiser 1. Because you got the big window covered in, like, newspaper and stuff.
Trying to remember this one.
There's a telescope.
Oh, yeah, the telescope. And then so the telescope is looking out into the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and the prostitute's shoe was on the floor right there. That pink boot.
Oh, really?
Just to the right of the telescope on the floor.
I've never seen that.
I wonder why that's in there.
That's a good catch.
I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to say with that.
Yeah, what's the point of that being in there?
And
He
to me,
just
this
flashed
is
over it with his flashlight really quickly, but
to me this is the moment in the movie where the movie really takes a turn for the worse.
I think when he confronts all these people after they're dead and has to shoot them all with his shotgun, that's pretty bad.
It is. It's like, hey, I know you're watching. Here's another finger. So that's like 6 fingers now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 7, 8 will be his wife and his daughter.
Yeah.
9, 10 would be his flesh and his spirit. Okay, it kind of changed for the last 2 ones because they're not really victims, and unless he's talking in the spiritual sense.
So is that the psychiatrist's voice?
No, it doesn't sound like him. It doesn't sound like him at all.
He's not even on the phone. When he looks at the telescope, the other guy's not even on the phone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think the engineer was supposed to be Pinhead and not that guy.
No.
But
I love Craig Sheffer, but even in some parts he gets really hammy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Yeah, right here is kind of...
Officer down, about officer dead.
Yeah. But I don't, there are probably so many takes of that they could have used instead of that.
Yeah.
Everybody's got bad takes, I would think.
Yeah.
And Clive Barker said about Inferno, here's another quote from the Lost Souls newsletter, December 2000. I really hate the way he's been treated in this film. He's talking about Pinhead. It depressed me. It upset me on behalf of Doug, on behalf of myself, on behalf of the people who love these movies. I thought it was disrespectful, and I felt as though he'd been tagged on just because they wanted to call it a Hellraiser movie.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like a Hellraiser movie. It felt opportunistic to me, and I wanted to do something respectful to a character who has been very good to me. And this story is talking about the Scarlet Gospels will be the way to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you know, but there was talk early on. There was some designs done, and I don't know if I saw a drawing of it, but
it is upside down.
They wanted to change Pinhead's costume to red.
I wouldn't have been opposed to that, honestly. I mean, I think if the story was good, I just wouldn't care too much about what Pinhead is wearing.
No.
Because they changed some of the Cenobite suits through the movies. They did change them a little bit.
Well, and also, I mean, that would be the least of the problems for this movie anyway.
Like Chatter, different versions of Chatter have had different costumes.
Yeah. Well, he even grew eyes in Hellraiser 2.
Yeah. It would have made him more like a cardinal kind of thing, which I think...
That's what I was going to think of. That's probably what the idea was.
We would feel this a little more if those were like real characters, but they're not.
That's true.
He's a little more broken up about it than the audience, because I don't know. They're just lame.
And that's like a pillar of souls, right? Like a torture pillar.
Yeah, but it doesn't look right.
It doesn't have any of those that kind of, the kind of pieces that make up those kind of pillars. There was a piece of skin I saw, but that was about it.
Oh, look, another finger. He picks one up, but there's two, I think. But then the next shot, I can't see the second finger.
Yeah, you're right. There is two there. I just saw it.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that. It's a one for each of them.
So that
for
makes
every person that he's hurt or whatever, he takes a finger off, which is like carving off a piece of his soul because of his sins.
I think the Cenobites would have zero interest in Thorn.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that he opened the box. They would have zero interest in his life choices.
Yeah.
Because he's not actively searching for anything here. It's just a bad cop who does drugs and cheats on his wife. How is that like interesting for a Cenobite?
But he wants to save a kid. I mean, at least that part is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And why does Pinhead want to waste so much time, pointing out that he's a bad father and a bad husband? I mean, I would think he'd have better things to do.
Sure.
I'm going to lecture you and make you feel guilty. Kind of kick you while you're down.
Back when the Hellbound Web was being updated and stuff, and there used to be something called Leviathan's Lamentations newsletter.
Yeah.
Where Trips and later I think Scarecrow, Mark Adams.
Yeah.
Put up news about Hellraiser. I remember reading one after Hellraiser 4 that said that Hellraiser 5 would have all these Cenobites, and there would be like hundreds of them, and there would also be angels. And then there was another talk of making a movie that there's Pinhead. Making a movie where there would be a little boy and his sister. They would open the box and there would be Cenobites. So I never found any other place that had these ideas for Hellraiser movies. So I don't know where they got it from what source they got these informations. I'm just wondering if those were actually scripts that were being contemplated for Hellraiser 5 at some point.
They're playing church music while he talks to him. Also,
Yeah, the organ.
yeah, it's awful.
And some of the chains have light bulbs on them. I just noticed that. I think that's really weird.
It's weird. Yeah.
Light bulbs. Yeah, I've just never noticed.
I know.
That's horrible.
Here comes that part, Brian.
Oh God, yeah. This is probably as bad as the Kung Fu Cowboy scene or that bar. Just like all of his old friends that he hurt runs up to him and he shoots them with a shotgun. Why didn't his wife and kid run up to him and he could shoot them too?
Oh man.
His mother hacks at him with a knife, so he shoots her. But then his father didn't really do anything except grab him, and he shoots him with a shotgun too.
I guess he knows that they're not real, so he's just sending them off.
Yeah, maybe they're not real bullets either. Time to shoot myself as a little kid. He's got all his fingers.
He's a good boy.
Solving a puzzle.
Yeah.
Ah, good catch. If I was wearing
I gotta
a,
go play basketball and chess with a professor. I'll be right back.
if I was wearing my hat inside the house, I think my mom would tell me to take off my hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'd be okay in that cowboy barn bar.
Oh yeah.
I think it's mandatory that you wear a hat in there.
It's a pretty comfy looking house. Pretty set.
Dad's passed
Yeah,
out.
it's like, is his dad dead?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
This part doesn't really seem to advance the story in any way.
No, it seems like filler.
Yeah, it seems just like filler, yeah.
Okay, we get it. It's from the 70s. We already knew that he was looking at himself in the past.
It's like, why is Pinhead transporting him into his own past? Is he trying to tell him that, hey, this is what you've lost? This is the times of innocence that you've lost? Or I don't know. It's just,
it's gotta be.
I just don't understand what's the point of this segment. It just it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Hey, have some magic brownies.
I don't know, just
And it's like, in the fruit...
leave it. No, it feels like Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah. Yeah,
Huh.
right. She looks totally out of place. She's wearing a 50s outfit in the 70s.
Mom.
And the fruit gets all rotten and stuff, but the brownies are okay.
The brownies.
They're magic brownies.
Yes. My mom's plates. Thanks a lot, engineer.
I think that this scene, the special effects are good.
Yeah.
The way they make things like rot in front of your eyes. And so Jameson Goey actually did a good job on the visual effects.
Yeah, I like the way they changed from young to old there.
And he's still eating a brownie, and the brownie was okay. But the fruit rotted. There's the brownie on the plate, is still there.
Should have turned in, like I said, covered with maggots or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd have been cool. What with the symbolism with her eyes being
I
gone?
don't know.
They both are, don't they? Both their
Yeah.
eyes gone?
It's like the eyes are the window to the soul. So if you don't have
Yeah.
eyes, you don't have soul.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, now we're going into Evil Dead. And this is
Bang.
my boomstick.
Yeah. He's fighting Kandarian demons.
Yeah. We are those who were and shall be again.
Yeah.
We want what you have. Life.
I think you're right, Ryan. That looks like confetti.
Yeah.
It really does come.
Yeah,
up
it's
like
sticking on his face.
that, like a big fan blowing.
Oh, that's terrible. Snow doesn't usually go back up again.
This part, I don't know what they were going with this.
Yeah, because he froze, because they died from exposure because they were all lonely because they couldn't live.
It's going to close the window.
They didn't have a life without him.
Oh, here we go. Oh. Boom.
Oh.
That's a kind of.
You're already hurt, so I'm going to shoot you with my shotgun. That'll teach you for trying to be nice to me.
It would have been better to me if this whole part didn't exist and he just crossed over a door and saw Pinhead and the kid.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah, he's got a. Oh, and this is the worst. So he's only got. Oh no, there's 3 knives in his back, I guess, and those knives are awful. I think they're made to look like crosses, but I trusted you. I don't think it would be that easy to pull a knife out of your back.
No, it wouldn't.
As we saw in Deader.
Once I saw this video from this guy who was into like swords and medieval stuff, and he was explaining how in the games, computer games, like characters have their sword, stuck to their back, and they just go and pull out the sword. And in reality, you wouldn't be able to pull out a sword if the scabbard was on your back because your arm would have to be super long to do that.
Yeah, you'd have to take the whole thing off and then to pull it out of the.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that easy. You could probably do it, but it would be really awkward. It's not like they just reach out behind their back and like shing, pull out the sword. And it's like that's not how it would work.
And now there's a weird transition between house and ice cream truck in here.
Oh.
You hurt me too.
And he falls into oblivion. There's nothing out there.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It would have been cool if there was a labyrinth out there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, why does nobody gives a rip about the labyrinth anymore ever since Hellraiser 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Deader they do have that scene when Cenobites appear at the end where he's in like this sort of basement, but at the same time it kind of looks like the tunnels of the labyrinth.
Yeah, it does. I remember what you're talking about.
But yeah, those tunnels were in Hellraiser 1 also. I mean,
yeah.
Hellraiser 4 and Peter Atkins' original script, there was a lot more of the labyrinth.
Oh,
but
really?
It was never filmed.
Oh, that's too bad.
There was going to be a knife room where Frank and Larry would fight each other and try to cut. They would be stuck together, and he would pull a knife and try to cut himself away from Frank.
That was in the Hellraiser 2 script, right?
Yeah, the Hellraiser 2. Like, this would be another moment where they could just open the door and see the labyrinth. That would have been awesome. If the movie ended here with that shot, I would probably not hate the movie as much. But no, here we go.
Has to keep preaching.
Yeah.
He's looking at his scalp.
Yeah, that dissolve was kind of weird. Oh, it's going to get really, really cheesy now. Look at this. Look at the scene.
There's something. Maybe we haven't seen it yet, but in my notes I had mentioned from watching this last night there was a shaky camera that was really irritating.
I think the spinning kid. That's just man, that's cheesy. That is cheesy.
It's like the Batman newspaper.
It's like when they show like in a bad movie that a plane is crashing and they film the cockpit and then they just turn the camera around and the people are still sitting in the chairs.
Yeah. Oh, there's that jacket is so awful. Take it off. It offends me.
Looks like it was bought from like a car trunk in Los Angeles.
I wonder if Clive Barker even made it through this movie.
He probably did once. I bet he only watched it the one time though.
Yeah.
So that's latex, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, Tunnicliffe, you put the bald cap the wrong way.
Yeah. Oh.
Why?
Oh, here we go. The worst Pinhead speech of all time.
Yeah,
Boone should turn to Pinhead and say, Lylesburg? Is that you?
Doug
No, I don't.
rewrote some lines in this scene, I guess, to try to help it, make it sound like Pinhead as much as possible.
I could just imagine Doug Bradley reading the script and like shaking his head and being like, "Man,
what have I gotten myself into?
I got to rewrite this stuff." 'Cause you have destroyed your own innocence. Pinhead, 2000.
Yeah.
Can I have a hug?
Isn't that the meme that that people do?
Yeah.
I think I've seen a meme of that.
Yeah, it says hugs.
Like, I have a hug.
Right, and they just cut off the two characters on the sides there.
You know, I'm not going to pretend like I don't understand what he was going for here. Like, his flesh is killing his spirit. Okay, we get it. He abuses himself. He is prey to his own like appetites. But it's like, I just don't think that has a place in this.
No. That's a lot of change just for his face. And is that supposed to be him right there? It doesn't look like him.
Yeah, it is him with blood.
Yeah, it's just a...
His hair's different.
Yeah, it's just...
He's got helmet hair.
I guess that's a very nod to Larry when...
Yeah.
Not Larry, but Frank,
when
he was in Larry's skin.
I think the flesh and the spirit are pretty much part of the same thing. You know, it's not like one thing is... You know, it's not like your spirit can be innocent and your flesh is weak. Okay, well, the point I'm trying to make is I think flesh and spirit are united.
Yeah.
So they're not two separate things. Unless you believe in souls and stuff like that.
And
then
there was one finger for every victim. But some of those victims were just in people in hell. So I don't know. Like, why is Jay Cho a victim of him? What did he do to Jay? I guess he tortured him in high school, right?
Yeah, he said they picked on him. He tried out for the basketball team, and
they gave him hell.
They gave him hell.
Yeah, so that's one finger.
It's Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It's Groundhog Day, too.
Put your little hand in mine. It's the music that plays when Bill Murray wakes up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, well, and he's actually kind of happy here because he thinks everything was just a dream. And he's like,
man, there was some bad cocaine.
Yay, everything's fine except for I stayed out.
He's trying to be nice.
Night.
He's trying to be nice.
Yeah. Except I stayed out all night and I didn't really give my wife a good reason why. I'm working on a case.
I think his relief kind of puts him in a place where he, instead of learning a lesson, he just thinks, oh, thank goodness it was all a dream. Huh.
Yeah.
It's great. I can go back to the squad and keep doing what I'm doing.
Who came up with the name Hellraiser Inferno? There's no fires in this movie at all.
No, the Inferno, I think, is kind of Dante's Inferno.
Well,
you know that.
Okay, but I mean, hell. It's already got hell in the name.
Yeah.
Well, it was Scott Derrickson and Paul, the guys who wrote the script.
That's the only thing I can say. I mean, I don't.
All we got were a bunch of lame speeches and guilt trips. So here he's realizing, okay, wait, no, I'm reliving this. It wasn't a dream. I can't handle it. I don't want to hear the gurgly parts. I'm going to put the phone down.
Miramax tried to market this as a psychological Hellraiser.
I guess so.
And Doug Bradley said, The only clue I have is that Miramax are describing this as psychological Hellraiser. Well, there are those of us who have never considered Hellraiser as anything else, but the executive is always right, so let's leave that one alone, shall we? They're also saying that this will be a standalone with no plot connection to the previous 4. Even more intriguingly, they're describing the proposed 6th movie as an action movie. Kickboxing Cenobites? Pinhead in a Bruce Willis vest? The mind boggles. Actually, it reels in disbelief and will have to sit down in a darkened room to recover. So this was Doug Bradley on the Doug Bradley newsletter, summer '99. Wow. I guess this was before he saw the movie.
What's that in his belly button?
It's a ring. He has a belly button ring.
Oh. Yeah, so he was just narrating and saying how he's going to have to face his demons forever. And then he goes, no! It's like,
that last no.
Yeah. Are you arguing with yourself?
Yeah. Like the last no that he did there. There's like a compilation if you go on YouTube and look up.
Hey, there's in the credits, manager Cliff Cadaver.
I'll see it.
That's weird.
He was the cadaver manager. Asian cowboy number 1, Kazuhiro Yokoyama, and cowboy number 2 is Akihiro Noguchi.
At least they got a credit.
Yeah. So they're actually karate cowboys, not kung fu cowboys.
I might just stick their names in IMDb and see what comes up.
Okay.
So there you go. That was Hellraiser Inferno. Sorry.
Yeah, next up is Hellseeker.
I was just feeling a little under the weather, but
this totally looks like a made-for-TV credit sequence.
There's even parts in the movie where it seems like it's cutting to commercial because it just fades out to black.
Special effects by Ultimate Effects.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Additional props by Bongo Stroud.
Bongo Stroud.
Yeah.
And special effects makeup crew, Rob Freight Train Freitas. I love it when they have like the little nickname.
Thomas Tunnicliffe. I wonder who that is. It must be a relative of Gary's.
Yeah.
Set painters.
And this, this end credit music also is very loungy, but
you're so used to hearing at the end credits, and just the score of this movie is just, it was always very atmospheric. The score is
they're trying to make it more noir-y and like a thriller instead of a horror movie.
Yeah.
There you go. Visual effects by Neo Digital Imaging. Visual effects supervisor Jemison Goe. Stigmata tattoo by Incognito Pasadena.
Oh, that was that guy's tattoo with the spike going through the hand.
Probably. Yeah, I think so.
So that's it. Yeah.
Vocals and orchestration.
So next up is Hellseeker, and I have to say that's a little bit better.
In some ways.
I like that they brought Kirsty back, but it still has the problems where Hellseeker, you're going back and forth between.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's those parts where it's all a dream and.
Yeah, or he'll
Deep
be
Winters
asleep on the bus or whatever, and he'll jolt away. He has some nightmare, and then he jolts awake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the worst, of the weirdest scenes is when he pukes up an eel out of his mouth. And there's a payoff at the end, but it's just a weird scene when it catches you off guard, and you're like, what's going on in this movie? I have no idea what's going on. It just makes you confused.
Yeah.
Did they release a soundtrack for this movie? I don't think an official one, but I swore
usually they say in the credits, if there is one, they'll say soundtrack available on whatever.
It was only released by the composer.
Oh, okay.
And I have a copy of it. Yeah.
I think I remember you giving me a copy of it back on an old computer I had. But
well, there's another one down.
Yeah.
I still have it. So, all right, that was Hellraiser Inferno.
Yeah, Hellraiser Inferno, guys. Hope you
Part
enjoy.
of Hell on Earth.
Yeah.
Next few are going to be a couple of Hellraisers. So
yeah.
I do like the Hellraiser movies more than doing like Candyman.
Candyman 3. And
Yeah. At least there's a familiarity of Hellraiser, and you get
we
to
have a
see
break.
that.
We'll have a Hellraiser Hellseekers next. Then we have Deader. Then we take a break and we do Saint Center.
Yeah.
Then we finish we do Hellraiser, Hellworld, then Revelations. I think that's how it is.
All right, sounds good. I'm pumped for Saint Sinner.
Yeah.
All right.
That's going to be
All right,
great.
guys.
All right, guys. Thanks for contributing to our Kickstarter, and I hope you enjoy this. And we'll catch you on the next commentary track.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks,
Okay, guys.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial fan site and podcast that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Films. This podcast and site are a labor of love by the fans for the fans. News, features, and show notes for this episode can be found at www.clivebarkercast.com. Go to iTunes and please leave us a review. Reviews really help us get the word out about Clive Barker. You can also find us on Podomatic, Xbox Music Store, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Double Twist, BlackBerry, and Pocket Cast. We have a Facebook page, so come on and like our Facebook page and join the Occupy Midian group for lots of discussion about Nightbreed and other Clive Barker stuff. On Twitter, we're at BarkerCast and at Occupy Midian. Opening theme by Mark Buckle.